Last week was our first playoff game, and my plaque psoriasis was so itchy under all my gear. Sometimes just thinking about scratching could take me out of the moment. And then my doctor told me I could get clearer skin with a pill called Otezla.
Otezla apremilast is a prescription medicine used to treat adult patients with plaque psoriasis for whom phototherapy or systemic therapy is appropriate. Otezla can help you get clearer skin after just 4 months.
Okay, ready for the next game. Talking to my doctor about a pill was a total game changer.
Don't use Otezla if you're allergic to it. Get medical help right away if you have trouble breathing or swallowing, swelling of the face, lips, tongue, throat, or arms. Severe diarrhea, nausea or vomiting, depression, suicidal thoughts, or weight loss can happen. Tell your doctor if any of these occur and if you have a history of depression or suicidal thoughts. Live in the moment. Ask your doctor about Otezla. Call 1-844-4-OTEZLA or visit Otezla.com for prescribing info about cost, and more.
Reality radio for a really great future. We're talking real money.
And our telephone number is 855-935-8255. That is 855-935-TALK. I'm Tom Cock. That's Paul Merriman. Don McDonald is out for another week. He'll be back joining us next Saturday as we host Retire Meet North in Everett, our first time there. And as I mentioned earlier, a few tickets left that got returned this past week. So if you'd like to join us for most of a full day of great information on retirement, you can go to retiremeet.com. Our pleasure to have Paul Merriman in the studio. For those who don't know, I mean, if you've been around Seattle for the last 30 years, you're going to know this guy because he's been out speaking to tens of thousands of people. He's written a couple of great books. He had a PBS special that I think had more people watching it than my PBS thing. He's been as I said, on the radio. He's speaking publicly. Still writing at MarketWatch, heading towards 300 articles. If you go to marketwatch.com and go down to retirement, you'll find his work there. And he has the most provocative investment titles ever. I love these titles. 34 ways to make more money. Is that Paul Simon thing or something? But I mean, I absolutely love this. Give us just one way to make more money.
Well, one way is don't invest in a 401k.
That makes you more.
That makes you more.
How's that?
Because the 401k at your office is terrible. They don't match. They don't
about now you're picking on my office? We have a match? Come on, Bill Higgins is right there. He's shaking his head. Not true.
Or they don't have good investment options.
Okay.
And so a young person who might not be saving a lot.
So they're saving a couple grand a year.
They might be better to go right to the Roth IRA because their income isn't real high. And so it's a very cheap way to get involved with the Roth in terms of taxes.
Roth IRA has tax-free growth. Take the money out, you never pay anything.
That's right. It's tax-free for the rest of your life.
I mean, there's not many things like that, right?
And it's not likely to last, by the way.
You think that's gone?
Well, I think the ability eventually to get into it. I don't mean they're going to take away what you put into it.
You think they're going to raise? They're going to say if you make more than blank, and that number's going to come down.
I think they. I have no idea what they'll do, of course, but I think they're going to find a way to limit that because it's going to cost them a fortune if they allow
Now we're talking
people.
about they like they're not. That's the government essentially, Congress, if you will.
Well, I mean, think about and I've got an article entitled "How to Turn $3,000 into $50 million."
Of course you do. Can we do it this afternoon? Because I got big plans for tomorrow. I'm working on my garden.
It's real.
Okay.
It's real. And
3,000 into 50 million. How long do I need? I don't have enough time.
It's for your grandchild.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm going to have a second one of those in July.
Well,
so yeah, okay.
You evidently did not read my article, or you would have done this by now.
How to save money, not have grandkids? Okay. No, I didn't read that.
But here's what happens is when that child gets to be 16 and starts working, that money you set aside, you're going to be taking, you're going to invest that money immediately for that child in your name, okay?
So right now it's in a trust for them.
Not a trust.
Okay.
Right now you just open an account in your name, and you know it's going to be to fund that child's Roth.
Okay, so then when they have income, they can move the money to the Roth.
Yes, you will actually do that. I think,
okay, I like that.
And you keep,
I don't know how to move money, but I'll hire somebody to do it. Not a problem.
But you keep doing that until the money is in essence gone and all in the Roth IRA. Just leave that alone In fact, I would maintain that as an all-equity portfolio.
All stocks?
All stocks.
Yep.
I mean, this is not going to be
You could own VT or you could own VTWSX.
Yes,
Yep.
absolutely.
Yep.
And then they start taking money out of that investment in retirement. I think you could even leave it in equities at that point if you wanted to. It's not going to be their only retirement fund. And then they eventually pass on and they leave it to their heirs.
Wow.
And
that is a long-term plan.
That's what we're... Remember, I wrote a book called Live It Up Without Outliving Your Money?
I seem to remember that book. Yes, I do. Great cover page. Thought it was terrific.
And the last chapter was entitled My 500-Year Plan.
Indeed it was. And how's that coming? Because you're only 75 years in so far. You still got, well, not quite 75, but working your way towards that.
You know something?
You're not going to do one of those brain freeze things, a head freeze deal, and come back 300 years from now?
I actually have friends who think I did.
Okay. Well, that could be. Okay, but that's a great way for, like, next generation. I mean, the questions we generally get are, my kid is 23 and just started a job. You said maybe don't use the 401k. That's kind of a provocative comment because we really try to get people saving something.
Of course.
Anything.
I'm not saying don't save.
Okay. You're just saying where to save
you
it.
want to save where you're going to make the best unit of return per unit of risk.
Fair enough.
Which takes into consideration taxes. And because if you go into a target date fund, the first thing that happens to you is you get 10% set aside for fixed income. Why?
In any target date fund, they have at least 10% in bonds?
In that, well, almost every one that I've seen.
Okay.
And
you're going to say you're 23, why do you have 10% in bonds?
That's exactly.
That's crazy.
I asked John Bogle the same question.
And what did John Bogle say?
I think he agreed with me, but
right.
he wouldn't really say that.
He wouldn't go there. Hey, look, we're here to help you answer your questions. Paul Merriman there, Tom Cock over here. You're out there figuring it out. Give us a ring. We'll help you. 855-935-TALK, 855-935-8255.
Tom and Don are talking real money.
Keeping the podcast breaks as painless as possible is my goal. That's why I want to very quickly tell you about the only magazine I've ever heard of that is 100% real investing all the time. There's no business news, no speculative advice, and certainly no lifestyle stuff. It's called Real Investing Journal. I publish it every quarter, and you can get 2 full years for only $25 at realinvestingjournal.com. That's realinvestingjournal.com.
For your real life and real future, Tom and Don are talking real money.
Thank you for joining us. Our telephone number, 855-935-8255. That is 855-935-TALK. I'm Tom Cock.
And I'm Paul Merriman.
And we are here on Talking Real Money today. Don McDonald's got one more week off. We'll see him next Saturday. You can see him next Saturday at Retire Meet in Everett. And let's go to a few phone calls, see what people need. I hope this is okay to say. I'm going to go ahead and say it. I like Ike. Is that all right? So we'll go to the phones.
Very good. Oh, yeah, that's fine.
I know, it's too easy. I apologize. But I was in a 4th grade class yesterday, and I heard the report on Dwight David Eisenhower, so I'm feeling like I do kind of like Ike. But how can we help you, Ike?
Well, my wife and I are both retired, 65, about the same. And we have a pretty good, she has a 401k from her work that's probably $400,000. And I have a pension, and we're both getting Social Security. But also, I'm lucky enough, I have a house I bought in 77 in Marysville. And I'm renting it out now, no problem, every month. My question is, though, should I look seriously at selling it, either outright, or I've thought about selling it, get maybe $50,000 down or so, and then carry the contract. What would be your guys' professional opinion on that?
Well, so you have not been living there. This has not been a residence, correct?
Correct.
Okay,
right.
So whatever money is to be made, you're going to pay capital gains tax on it. So I'm assuming the cost basis is low and the sales price is high. That's where we're headed here.
Right, okay. Right. And I'm just curious, I know real estate's going up, and up, but...
No, we're going to correct you there, Ike. Real estate has gone up, and up. Tomorrow, it might start going down, down, and down. We don't know. You're correct. Yeah. It has gone up a lot. Paul, what's your opinion on... I see what you're saying. Maybe there's a way to defer some of that taxation a bit.
Well, I guess, Ike, what would you do with the money if you sold it?
Well, that's a good question. I don't know. Yeah. Invest it in something, I guess.
Would you want to invest it in something that gave you similar to a monthly check if you sold it and took the paper? Would you want to put it someplace where it would give you a monthly check, or are you looking for something that would grow not just for your future but your children?
Yeah, that'd probably be a good idea for my children. Yeah, I have one son, so.
And how is your wife's 401k invested? How much in stock and how much in bonds?
I think it's pretty, non-aggressive right now.
So balanced, maybe.
Yeah, balanced.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're a conservative kind of guy. Would that be?
Well, I've seen a couple of the blips, and I'm,
and
I know I should probably take a look at getting a little more aggressive with hers. I'm thinking.
Well, that could be a step, regardless of what you do with the house. But you need some counseling, and I don't mean that in a bad way. because
I need that too.
Well, that's not this show. We don't do that here. Sorry.
We could.
Yeah, okay, not well, but we could do it. No, I mean, what he's saying is you have a few moving parts, and it's hard for us just to say, do this and this. And by the way, here's the other thing to think of that I always worry about. People make decisions based on taxes when it's really more of a financial decision. They let the tax tail, if you will, wag the dog. It's like, nah, you don't want to do it for that reason. If in true, by the way, here's another way I'd look at it. If you bought something in the 70s and it has gone up a lot in the last 45 years, it might be time to sell just to take the money off of the table and invest it in something that's less risky than a single real estate property. That's how I would look at it.
Which is what basically I did in 2012.
Correct.
I sold the company that I had built over 30 years and passed that baton of risk to other people and put the money in investments that are conservative.
A lot less risky than a single non-publicly traded company.
That's right.
Or a single property.
Totally liquid.
Yeah, I think that's a great I thank you for your call. I would go to dfaus.com and look for an advisor. Get some professional help from somebody who is fee only and we're going to give you real advice. dfaus.com. We got time to squeeze one more in? Okay, let's go to the phones. And Mark joins us here on Talking Real Money. Hi, Mark.
Hey, how you doing?
Good. How can we help you?
Yeah, 56 years old, going to work another 10 years, very conservative investor, and have money in a 401k, looking to see where I might best have that money be invested in.
Inside of the 401k, how to invest the money that's there? Is that the question?
Correct.
We need a list of the mutual funds to do that. Is that what you're asking?
That's what I'm asking, whether or not I should reinvest that money into a different type of investment or just leave it there and
I've got an idea.
Take the cash that I have and invest.
I've got an idea.
Okay.
We actually, along with Tom and I and the firms, have worked together to analyze 401k
That
plans.
is true. We did like 150 of them. I saw the list the other day.
Send me, if you will, to paul@paulmerriman.com.
That's MERRIMAN, Paul Merriman. Paul at paulmerriman.com, correct? Yeah.
Yes. The offerings, the different
All we need
investments.
is a list of the funds, Mark, that you could invest in. What he's saying is we then analyze those and we'll build a portfolio and we'll send it back to you.
And I must say that I will not recommend one particular one for you. I'll show you a conservative, a moderate, and an aggressive strategy, because I am not an investment advisor anymore. But I can do that in a generic way, but I cannot look at a person's actual situation. That's for people like Tom's firm and others who give people that kind of advice.
Or, by the way, if you can't remember Paul at paulmerriman.com, you can go to 401411.com. You're going to get the same help, because there there's a submit your plan button. You submit the plan, 401411.com. We'll try to give you some advice. Is that helpful, Mark?
Absolutely. I appreciate your time on the phone.
Thank you, sir.
Good luck.
This is another one of the issues that a lot of people struggle with, too. When I leave my company, when I got a new job, do I take the money with me and take it to the new job? Do I take it to an IRA? It's very confusing for people.
Well, and in most cases that I've seen, the 401k plans are so underrepresented in great asset classes.
In other words, they have the S&P 500.
They'll have a large cap international.
Yep, right.
And maybe they'll have a small cap blend, but they won't have a large cap value. There's a lot of stuff
REITs,
missing.
They don't have international, all the stuff that has helped make a greater return over time.
And the big problem here is when people start thinking about going out to the market to do this, there are people who are going to crawl across crushed glass.
No, it's the Wild
to get
West.
to your account.
Oh,
so
yeah.
be careful
I agree.
where you get the advice.
855-935-8255 for advice right here every Saturday on Talking Real Money. That's 855-935-8255. If you like what you hear, come and hear Paul next Saturday in Everett at Retire Meet North. Go to retiremeetmeet.com to learn more.
Tom and Don are talking real money.
If you're sick of investing through an insurance agent or a stockbroker and you're in the market for a fee-only advisor who charges truly low fees and uses a scientific approach to building portfolios for your risk tolerance and need, you should check out Vestory. Tom and I started this firm, and it is devoted to educating everyone, total transparency, clarity, low fees, and great service. If you're looking for an advisor, you ought to at least take a look at us at Vestory.com. That's Vestory.com. Or give us a call, 800-386-3004.
Your guides to a really great financial future. Tom and Don are talking real money.
I want to thank you for joining us today on Talking Real Money. We'll be here for another half an hour, so if we want to get your calls in, this would be the time to do it. And then at 2 o'clock, we switch over, roll down the dial to AM 570 KVI to continue the conversation. The phones will work there, too, 855-935-TALK, 855-935-TALK. So any Saturday afternoon between noon and 3. And yes, honey, if you're listening, this really is me. I'm here live. She thinks Saturday I go off with my golfing friends or something. My soccer friends messing around. No, I really am showing up here. So, and she's working today too. This is the season to get the food truck business up and going. So I think she has like 3 weddings today or something.
Wow.
And she told me that, I said, you're already married. Why do you need to go 3 weddings? Anyway, so she's off and running. Got a brand new oven they're testing out. So it's a big day for them.
By the way, I have noticed your jokes.
They're better?
No, they're not.
They're worse. Okay,
Yes.
well, I'm older. We used to the show, and I had more prep time before. I'm working harder than I do now.
I know.
So anyway, sorry. I apologize for that. I should have apologized right off the top of the show. So I'm sorry for that. But let me give you another number, because we were talking about sort of people saving for retirement. I find this fascinating because, in your words, the forks in the road are so immense. And we oftentimes run into people and we ask them how much you're saving in their 401k, and they say, well, I save the max. Now, to me, that means if you're under 50, you're saving $16,500. If you're over 50, you're saving $24,500. Very few of you are saving that much. I happen to know that because I look at a lot of plans every week. Yeah. But let's talk about the forks in the road, because if you're young and you're making $100,000 a year, I get it. That's still pretty high income. And you're saving 5% of your salary, so you're saving $5,000, and you get a match from the employer that matches 50% of that save. So now you're putting in $7,500 a year into your retirement account. You're doing 5, the employer's doing 25, and you make 7% a year, which I think is reasonable, especially looking back. You end up 30 years down the road, and you're going to say that's a long time. It is. That's $708,000. Conversely, for people who say, well, I can't save that much. I could save 3%. So now they save the 3. They get $3,000 from them, $1,500 from the employer, right? $4,500 a year. They make the 7, but they only end up with $425 in 30 years. Think of the difference the $283,000 makes when you start drawing that money out. So these are huge decisions for young people to make. And then you get into should it be pre-tax or Roth 401k, even a bigger decision.
By the way, that difference between the 7-something and the 4-something,
yeah,
what people sometimes fail to realize is that happens, let's say, until they're 65. And they look at how much they have at 65. And they can see that the difference is even going to get wider at 65 because there's more of it. Then they start taking money out of those investments. And they do it for 30 years or 25 years. the difference gets wider.
Indeed it does.
And so it's way, way bigger than people expect, just because we're not very good at dealing with compounding and knowing what a huge impact it has over time. And I think that young people should be thinking at a minimum of saving 10%.
Yeah, that's a good number.
And it was, when I went into the business back in the 60s, it was 11%.
Was it?
That people were saving. Now we're down to 5 or 6%.
Number, yeah.
And we have to sacrifice. Unfortunately, we have to sacrifice, because having income in retirement is not something we want. It's something we need. We don't have to ever own a house. We don't have to.
Not in Seattle. Want to. No, who could? I mean,
we don't need to. We don't need to go on a vacation.
True.
We want to, and I'm not saying we shouldn't enjoy life.
This is starting to feel like working for you again, about the needing a vacation or wanting a vacation. This is bringing a lot about painful memories, Paul. You would like to get your questions answered, please join us here on the phones, 855-935-8255. That's 855-935-TALK. Plus, want to hear us in person? Retire Meet North next Saturday in Everett. Still a few returned tickets. You can take advantage at retiremeet.com.
Tom and Don are talking real money.
If you need help allocating your retirement plan at work, you can get free help at 401-411.com. That's 401-411.com.
Reality radio for a really great future. We're talking real money.
Well, thank goodness I don't have to do sound investing anymore, because there I was only the third best voice. Here, I'm just the second best voice. So that's good. I really like that. Don McDonald's gone this week. I'm Tom Cock. Paul Merriman's over there helping us out. If you don't know Paul, you should. You should go to paulmerriman.com, because he's got portfolios at Vanguard and Fidelity and Schwab. Don't go on because I know you can go on and on. He's got great articles. You can read some of those at MarketWatch. He's written a couple of books. He's got videos, and all of it, by the way, he doesn't get paid anything for. He's just trying to help you get money and investing in retirement right. So take advantage of that. And you can hear him in person next Saturday. You were mentioning that it's going to be a little unusual, because we're going to be doing your talk live right here on this. So they'll be waving you down. You get all warmed up and they'll say, stop.
Yeah.
That's going to be tough.
I'm worried.
I'm really worried.
I'm worried.
If the whole thing works, it'll be a complete miracle to me. So if you can't join us, you can hear this all next Saturday live from Retire Meet North. We've never done anything like this. So.
I am absolutely too old to learn something new, but I'm doing it. I can't wait.
Good for you. 855-935-8255 is our number, and Harry now joins us here on Talking Real Money. Hi, Harry.
Hey, hi. First of all, thanks a lot to you guys for helping everybody every weekend.
That's very kind. Thank you. How can we help you?
I'm 37-year-old, getting a good match on my 401k, maxing that out, and then putting some savings in my Roth IRA. But after other savings over the last 8 to 10 years, I have around 60,000 to 70,000, which is all in stocks right now, and I'm having a hard time in managing that. If I want to put that money to use after 30 or 40 years from now, what would be your recommendation? What should I do with that, instead of every day worrying about where should I invest and what should I do?
Okay, so if I want to make sure I'm hearing you correctly, you have a 401k, you have a Roth IRA, and then you have another account that has $60,000 in it. What's the best way to invest that for a long period of time? Did I hear that correctly?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yep, exactly.
Well, Harry, I think the first thing that I would focus on, if I sat down with you, I'd want to know in your 401k what part fixed income, what part equity, so I can get an idea of the kind of overall risk that you're taking. I do believe that for most people, the fixed income should be inside of the 401k or your IRA, so that you're not taxed there. And so it's not unlikely that it would be an all equity portfolio in that taxable portion, because you're going to be able to sell that many, many years from now, theoretically, and have long-term capital gains, which will be a favorable tax treatment, we hope. Now the question is how aggressive you should be. The great thing is, Warren Buffett says that for most professionals and amateurs, the best place to put the money is in the S&P 500. And fortunately, we have the ability, particularly with the amount of money that you're talking about, to put all that money in something like the S&P 500, highly tax efficient, relatively highly tax efficient. It does pay some dividends.
Yep.
And it is hugely diversified over many, many large public companies. That would be very easy, okay?
Okay.
And that would be through Vanguard. You can get it many places.
I'm going to offer an alternative here,
Yep.
because I think what you said, the operative word here, is Harry has a 401k. There's assets that he could own there. You mentioned bond fund, for example. It's unlikely that it has things that we talked about previous on the show, like real estate investment trust. Now, you wouldn't want to own that in a taxable account, but it could have types of stocks, asset classes, smaller companies, value companies. You could own those there to balance out what you have in the 401k. So not unlike the advice we gave earlier to Mark about the fact that it's hard for us just to say, go own this. Owning the S&P 500 is very admirable. We on the show, as you know, Paul, have recommended owning the Vanguard Total World Stock Index, which is 8,800 stocks. It still, and by the way, is mostly the S&P 500 because those make up such a big part of the global market capitalization. But you could own that there. So there's some alternatives, but I like the idea of being all stock. You don't want to have the bonds there if you can avoid it. And I like the idea of diversification because that could be money that could make 7, 8, 9% for a very long period of time. Harry, I hope that helps. You get more of that next week up at Retire Meet North in Everett. So take a look at that at retiremeet.com. We'll be back with more in just a moment.
Tom and Don are talking real money.
In addition to the Talking Real Money podcast, I also do another podcast that's very popular over at Apple Podcasts. It's called Money 30. Every day I try to educate and inform you about money in a brief 2 to 4 minute podcast. So check them out at Apple Podcasts or all the other podcast services or at money30.com.
For your real life and real future, Tom and Don are talking real money.
Well, welcome back to the program. 855-935-8255, 855-935-TALK. I'm Tom Cock. That's Paul Merriman. Bill Higgins here today because he's celebrating his birthday. We won't tell you which one it is because he's just blessed to have this many and, frankly, count this high. So it's really great, and we wish him a happy birthday. We would sing, but then we'd never be back on the air again. Right. That would be the last program ever. So this concludes the birthday celebration part of it. But Bill, seriously, thank you for all your hard work and your friendship. Bill's a sports guy, so we get to watch sports together too, which I enjoy.
Oh,
yeah,
nice.
So we watch that. That's fun. Because nobody in my household really cares. My daughter, who's in 4th grade, sometimes said, "Why do people even care about this stuff, Dad?" I said, "Well, it's kind of like drama. It's interesting." Nah, not so much. So anyway, she got it pretty well figured out, I think, already at 10. Better than I do at a few years older than that. Let's go back to the telephones. 855-935-TALK is the number. By the way, the conversation continues next hour with the same number on KVI AM 570. And here right at this moment is Catherine. Hi, Catherine. How can we help you?
Hi, Tom. Thanks for taking my call. This is in regards to a Roth IRA that I inherited from my mother when she passed away in 2014. And I was reading the IRS publication on the distributions after an owner's death. So it says that the entire interest of the Roth IRA must be distributed by the end of the 5th calendar year after the year of the owner's death. So if I take all of the distributions, which would equate to the interest by the 5th calendar year, is the 6th calendar year, I could still have that Roth IRA, the inherited Roth IRA, and it would be tax-free to me?
Wow, this is we're all shaking our heads here trying to make sure we know. Paul's looking at Bill, Bill's looking at me, I'm looking at Stacy. Somebody here's got to have the answer.
They would put me in jail if I answered that one.
I see. Okay.
We've got to be right on with a
that's
question
true.
like that. And
the first question is,
have
you got to get closer.
Have you taken any RMDs from that account?
Yes, because that's required.
And you've been continually taking your RMDs from the account since the time you inherited it?
Yes.
So that would have been 4 years ago, 2014, correct?
Yeah, so chances are, and
Right.
talk to your CPA, but chances are you can continue doing that as a stretch Roth. You can continue to do that as long as you've continually done it. Had you not taken RMDs, you definitely would have had to take everything by the 5th year. But again, I would confirm that with your CPA.
Okay, so it sounds like, what Bill's saying is you can continue to stretch that out now over the newly computed your lifetime and not have the 5-year rule because you have been taking withdrawals, required minimum distributions from that Roth IRA.
Okay, because you folks are talking about, the Roth IRA that your children could inherit it.
Yes.
I'm going, well, that sounds fine, good and fine and all that, but, you have to follow the IRS rules. I know you said you don't like to talk about taxes.
No. By the way, for full disclosure, we follow all the IRS rules too. Paul does. He's saying, we're very careful about that kind of thing because we manage money for about 850 people. So we are really careful. This is a little bit in the weeds, a little different. But the reason that we like the Roth, by the way, for full disclosure, is for a young person, it grows tax-free. You take the money out tax-free. After that, into the next generation, that's a different proposition. I know Paul likes to talk about his 500-year plan. I only work 100 years down the road. That's it, Catherine. But thank you for the great question, and you almost stumped the extra. I'm glad we brought Bill along, so it was good.
He was a lifesaver.
So, but that's why I like the Roth. And I like the Roth, by the way, for riskier things. This is another reason that we've recommended the VTWSX, because it's one mutual fund that holds almost 9,000 securities around the globe, and it does it at an incredibly low cost. So now you're getting exposure to all of these stock markets. It gets all these years of growth, and when you take it out, you don't have to pay tax on it. I love that.
Well, just for what it's worth, the idea that I have is that if you're going to use that kind of a fund, you're not going to get the exposure to small cap and value.
Not so much. It's true.
So I'd like to recommend maybe 25 to 50% be in a small cap value index.
You can balance it between those two,
yes,
by the way.
Exactly.
Because the VTWSX basically is large companies, and it's U.S. oriented. The United States, because the S&P 500 makes up a big hunk of the global market capitalization, you end up with more of that. I think that's a great strategy. We're just trying to make it simple for people. Just get invested, and you're adding a little bit more. But there's nothing wrong with that.
What's the premium? Never take a risk for which there is not an expected premium. So you don't take the time to learn this stuff unless you think compounding at an extra 1 or 2% a year could be a life changer for somebody, maybe your kids.
All right. So you wanted to mention the next hour when we're on KVI, we're going to be talking about something different. What is it? I know you're talking about burying my soul or something. I pretty much have done that.
I'd love to do that, but
I'm sure you'd rather roast it, I think, rather than burying it. But go ahead.
On the ferry over here from Bainbridge this morning, I thought, why don't we talk about some of the best and worst things about investing and compare the experience? Because we've had a lifetime of experience, and there are lessons.
Nearly full lifetime, not completely.
There are some important lessons in those best and worst questions.
Okay, so we'll take that up. Again, that'll be next hour on KVI. We still have time to take your questions here, 855-935-TALK, because we have a couple minutes left, and you're going to be in Everett with us next week doing the keynote address for Retire Meet North. Tickets still available at retiremeet.com. What are you going to what give us the title? It's insightful, provocative. What is it?
It starts with the word 10.
That does not surprise me, by the way, having known you for these long 30 years, yes.
And your memory is going to be better than mine on this because I do get my presentations confused.
This is not good. Okay.
But I'll have it together.
10 something.
And it has to do with making better investment decisions.
All right. Well, I thought it was more general than
Choices. I've got a book entitled 101. It's free, by the way.
Yeah.
101.
This is on your website as well.
On my website.
Yeah.
101 investment decisions guaranteed to change your financial future.
Good or bad?
It'll change.
Okay.
I can't know what direction, but it will be different. I guarantee it.
It's good to change it. All right. Well, you can get that at paulmerriman.com. You can get him next week at Retirement or next hour on KVI. And again, that telephone number is 855-935-TALK. I do want to mention before we go that we're making jokes about retirement, but you've been to several of them. These are great events. You learn a lot of stuff in one day about money and estate planning and mortgages, all the stuff the nuts and Social Security, all the nuts and bolts of retirement, and we do it in about 8 hours or 7 hours. So it's a pretty good deal.
Ben Franklin said
he will not be there. I checked, by the way.
He will be there in spirit.
Okay,
I guarantee it.
Good. Okay, yeah, yes.
He said that the best return on education.
He told you this in high school, right? Okay, I'm just checking.
I obviously don't remember it, but
yeah.
It had something to do with the return on an education.
Let's hope Don never hears this show. Okay, let's give it to the editor. Edit this right here. Right. Ben Franklin said what? What did he tell us?
Well, the return on an education it's your best investment.
Okay,
right
there you go. Oh, okay. So there was actually a point to that.
If you don't get 10 good ideas out of that retirement that will change your life, then you weren't listening.
Good or bad. It'll change your life. All right, you can learn more about Retire Meet next Saturday in Everett at retiremeet.com. Join us, just a few seats left.
Tom and Don are talking real money.
We mention 855-935-TALK, 855-935-8255 throughout the podcast. But you need to know that you can call that number 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Leave your question, and those will be answered in special Talking Real Money podcasts that will appear on this particular site in the future. So give us a call, 855-935-TALK, 855-935-8255.
Your guides to a really great financial future. Tom and Don are talking real money.
Oh, where else can you get Herb Weisbaum and Paul Merriman and Don McDonald and Tom Cock and Rick Gregrick and the great folks at Fairway Mortgage? Everybody together in one room, one day, and learn about your future and retirement. Well, I'll tell you where. Next Saturday in Everett. And you can still get tickets. We had a few people that decided they couldn't make it, so you can get tickets now. RetireMeet.com. RetireMeet, MEET.com.
We hope you realize that the information provided on Talking Real Money is for educational and hopefully enjoyable purposes only. Providing personalized financial planning or investing advice takes time, so please consult with a really good fee-only fiduciary investment, tax, or legal advisor. We know a good one. Investing must always involve risk. In other words, you can and probably will lose money at times. Also, as much as you want it, no one can accurately, consistently predict the future. So past performance doesn't tell you a darn thing about what the future will bring. Unlike many other programs that say something similar, Talking Real Money is not trying to get you to buy or sell any financial products or securities. Instead, the program is provided as a public service by Vestry, a fee-only registered investment advisor. Thanks for listening, and please visit TalkingRealMoney.com for more information and disclosures. Are we done now?